It has been 5 years since the world was lost to the anti-life equation zombies. Most of the major superheroes died and their children lived on in a spaceship flying to a new planet. But they have returned with the promise of gaining a cure. And that is today's episode of DCeased, Dead Planet. This is the Comicstorian channel where we bring you some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand while I read them dramatically back to you. The purpose of this is to encourage you to buy the next issue yourself and go check out your local comic book store. Now, in the DCeased Dead Planet series, we are currently 4 issues in, and the idea is simply put, 5 years later, the heroes returned looking for a cure. Cyborg told them that one existed, and they just went to New Genesis to get a Mobius chair to get the answers that they sought, only to see that there is an unliving dark side still up there somewhere. They've come back to Earth, and Constantine is manipulating his own plans today. And that brings us to DCeased issue 5. Here we go. With the most powerful heroes remaining on a quest to obtain the Mobius chair, Constantine made his move. He stands in front of a room in the Tower of Fate. When Dr. Fate appears, the magical hero looks at the door, questioning John about what's on the other side. "What's in this room? Why can't I see inside?" he questions. Because the door is closed," John quips. Fate glares at Constantine, demanding to know what he keeps here. "Oh, you know, a rack of identical trench coats," John tells him as he takes a drag of a cigarette. But Fate will not be deterred, as he demands to know why he can't enter the room, but John holds out his hand and the doorknob magically appears. He slips inside, looking back at the doctor. "Look, don't worry about it. This is the Tower of Fate, so whatever is in here is clearly meant to be in here. Otherwise, you'd have to rename the place." John closes the door and steps inside. He turns to find the demon Trigon waiting for him. "Why have you summoned me, you sad Merlin wannabe?" the demon asks, and John shakes his head, asking for an update on Hell. "How long until Trigon comes?" he questions. "You should fear. He'll be here soon," Trigon intones. John shakes his head, asking for a straight answer. "He's pretty pissed. I say 3 turns until all life and non-life on this world burns." John nods, glancing at the shadows, asking Swamp Thing if he's heard enough. And Swamp Thing nods and Trigon leaves. "The Australian garden still cries out," Swamp Thing rumbles. John tells his friend that he'll deal with the Australians and looks at Ragman's cloak. "I'll need to if this is going to work," John tells him. And as the two step out of the room, Dr. Fate asks Swamp Thing what the room holds. "A rack of coats," Swamp Thing says simply, and John laughs. As they cross through the garden, John tells Alec that they'll need a few people who don't mind dealing punishment. "Are you as good as your old man?" John says as he stops in front of Batman, currently Damian Wayne. "Not yet," Damian admits. John explains that they need to do some questionable things. "And I need to do them while Mary Marvel is a galaxy away, and I need a team to keep me alive. I can't say more, but it's for the good of the world and all that," John tells the young Batman, but Damian shakes his head, telling him that his reason isn't good enough. "You don't trust me?" John asks. "I mean, of course not," Damian says simply, demanding the whole truth from John, and he lets him know that he'll know if John is lying. Constantine curses when he realizes that Damian is like his old man, and then he decides to tell him the plan. "No one will die that isn't already dead," John finishes with it, and he leads him over to the rest of the team, and Damian smiles at Jason and Cassandra. "A bad family trip with the Ravager and Swamp Thing," he says. Actually, Rose and I are married," Jason tells him. "So she's family too," Cassandra confirms. Damian brings them both in for a hug and tells them how happy he is for them. John explains to the group that he and Swamp Thing's souls are joined so he can bring them through the green. Moments later, Alec pulls himself out of a stand of trees looking out over Nanda Parbat. "That's a lot of anti-life," Jason notes as they come out of the portal and he draws his pistols. "If there's a cure, we can't kill them," Cassandra tells them. But the heroes leap into the approaching army of undead ninja assassins, and as he fires, Jason asks Rose what they should do when they reach the gate. "We knock politely," she tells him simply as her blades cut through another ninja. "Get the blighted ones off me," she yells as she moves towards the door. "Of course, keeping the undead off of each other was in our vows." Jason nods as he keeps firing. Rose knocks on the door and it opens with a squeak. Deadman floats out, greeting them. "Welcome, my friends. Welcome to Nanda Parbat," he shouts as the warriors of Nanda Parbat flood out and begin to attack the ninjas. "Follow me. Would you like something to drink? Maybe some snacks?" he asks as he floats back into the city. Inside, Constantine discovers the Spear of Destiny, which has been guarded for centuries. "Is that what you've come for, Hellblazer?" Rama Kushna asks him. He reaches forward, but Ramakrishna explains that she will protect him and his friends, but never allow the Holy Spirit to be taken from this place. And John lowers his head. I know. I'm sorry, he whispers as he whirls on her, stabbing the spear through Ramakrishna's chest. No! Why? Deadman shouts as he flies towards them. I've never felt a need to explain myself to dead men, John tells him as he pulls out Ragman's cloak. He holds it up and the magical quilt pulls in Boston Brand's soul. The others rush over questioning him, but John doesn't answer, telling them that they're leaving. You stabbed a goddess, Jason shouts as they step through the portal. But John shakes his head and tells Jason that she'll heal in a couple thousand of years. But she never would have let me take this, he says, holding up the spear. Damien looks around, questioning where Swamp Thing has brought them. The Rock of Eternity, the Guardian of the Green rumbles before explaining that they need the wizard. They need Shazam's staff. Are you planning on stabbing him with it? Jason asks. But suddenly, Rose stops and her eyes widen. She pulls free her pistol out of fear. Get us out of here, Constantine, she orders, raising that pistol, firing at the bolt of lightning that suddenly shoots across the room. The bullets don't even slow Captain Marvel Jr. down as he slams into Jason Todd, breaking the troubled hero in half. Swamp Thing's tendrils grasp the former hero as Damien launches explosives at him. Rose goes to her husband, pulling off his helmet, and she pauses briefly to throw a knife behind her, killing the wizard before he can attack. Freddy continues to fight as John orders the others to find the staff. Cassandra reaches forward, but doesn't hesitate when she shouts the magic word. Shazam! She bellows, transforming before their very eyes. She launches herself at Freddy. Cassandra was the greatest hand-to-hand fighter left on the planet, and the young boy didn't stand a chance. Rose eases her husband against the wall, apologizing for not being able to stop what she foresaw. Hey, it's okay. He smiles at her, blood in his mouth. I've died before. I'm not so afraid this time. I was just lucky. I got a second life, and my second life was with you. He tells her softly, and she kisses him as he passes from this life. They return to the garden, and Rose demands that John promise her that this was worth it. I promise that this is the only way, and if I'm wrong, well, we'll all be too dead to notice. As the others walk away, Damien walks over and reminds John what he told him about their mission. I told you I wouldn't kill anyone that wasn't already dead, John reminds him. Batman cracks the wizard across the jaw, dropping him to the ground, and John watches as the young man walks away. You deserved that, a ghostly voice whispers to John, and he turns to see Spectre floating behind him. Oh, what a shock. The ghost of wrath thinks I deserve a punch to the face, John quips. Spectre leans forward, telling John that he is capable of stopping what he is doing. I know, Jim, John says, lighting a fresh cigarette. He looks at the Spectre, telling the Spirit of Vengeance to use a little insight. What do you think I'm motivated by? John asks, and the Spectre smiles at him and flies away. Good night, John. In Australia, Penguin leans over the table asking Professor Ivo once more if the Amazos are ready. Very nearly, Ivo informs him. Anger swells up in Cobblepot, and Ivo reminds him that one wrong calculation and Amazos will kill them as well. Penguin continues to yell, and suddenly two of the androids appear behind him, their eyes glowing menacingly. Considering I am the sole survivor of a superpowered, artificially intelligent army that can destroy the very planet that you're standing on, maybe you should review your tone. I will be done soon. The undead can wait a little longer. Meanwhile, over in Gotham Garden, Cyborg finishes recording his blood to the life equation. John nods, leaning down to pet Crypto, asking what their next step is. But Cyborg isn't actually sure how to turn the equation into a cure. If only we had the world's greatest biochemist with us, Damien notes as he tries to play fetch with Ace, and he leaves them to go speak with Swamp Thing. Little Batman, I am sorry about Jason. He seemed like a good being, Alec rumbles. Damien expresses his appreciation and then tells Alec that he wants Jason to be the last lost from this virus. And for that, we're going to need Alec Holland, Damien tells him. But Swamp Thing shakes his head, explaining that even Alec Holland can't create the cure on his own. Damien agrees and tells him that the man wouldn't be alone. So, a short while later, they're all brought together, linked by the green with Dr. Fate's telepathic abilities. Nobel Prize-winning Alec Holland, Pamela Isley, former Doctor of Toxicology, Vic Stone infused with the technology of two worlds, Mary Marvel, Wisdom of Solomon, Harley Quinn, former Doctor of Psychology and Medicine, Wallace West, the fastest mind on the planet, Detective Chimp, the world's greatest problem solver, and Batman, because he's Batman. With these minds linked together, it wasn't long until Cyborg was standing before the survivors. I think I have the cure, he tells them. We can save them all. Superman nods. But at that time, the Amazo androids were released and they cut a swath of anti-life destruction across the world. Cyborg had developed the cure, telling the others that they needed to test it. Green Canary nodded her head. Ollie, she says simply. But Mr. Miracle steps in, explaining that it should be Big Barda. Dinah grows angry, but Scott explains that if something goes wrong, Barda might be strong enough to survive. We shouldn't risk Ollie, he explains. So they've removed a sliver of Canary's magic sword to create a needle strong enough to pierce Barda's skin and stepped through a boom tube. The team arrived on a small moon near Alpha Centauri. It was the safest place I could think of, Scott explains to them, and he leads them to a crater where he keeps her chained up, but fear shows in his eyes. Oh no, she escaped! He whispers. Canary whirls around at the last second as Barda comes plunging down upon them. She slams Scott into the ground with a bellow of rage. Superman, do it! Scott yells as Barda raises her fist to beat the man that she loves. And John moves at super speed, plunging the needle into Barda's neck. She bellows with rage again, raising her fist once more. And John's eyes glow red as he prepares to attack, but Scott yells for them not to hurt her. Suddenly, intelligence returns once more to Barda's eyes, and she looks down at her husband. Scott? She whispers, looking at him with fear, questioning where they are and where their son is. He's safe. He's on New Genesis. We'll go to him. We just have to save the Earth first, Scott tells his wife with a smile. Meanwhile, over in the Tower of Fate, John Constantine pulls off the cloak that was trying to attack his soul. Yes, Cloak, I know my wicked soul belongs in you, but give it a rest, will you? He curses. Suddenly, the door to his secret room explodes inward and Zatanna steps inside. Hello, Z. John greets her, but she's angry and demands to know what he has done. She looks around at the magical weapons that John has gathered and asks what is he planning. Now, can you trust me? John asks her, but Z shakes her head. Of course not. I've known you too long, she tells him. John nods, telling her that he's going to do things, but will need her help. If I tell you what I'm going to do, you'll try to stop me, he explains. And he suddenly glances at the door, telling Zatanna that he spent years hiding this place from Dr. Fate. You just left the door open so that anyone could walk in? He curses as Phantom Stranger steps out of the darkness. The stranger steps forward, telling John that he must not continue down this path. The world ends if I step off this path, John explains, and the stranger looks at Zatanna, asking John if she knows everything that he's done. Without an answer, he begins to list off everything that John has done recently. I chose to do those things I didn't want to do because they had to be done. John snaps at the Phantom Stranger, asking if he's really judging him after what he did to get cursed for all eternity. How dare you! The stranger yells, tossing John across the room, but the wizard recovers fast, reaching for the Spear of Destiny. Try it! He dares the ghostly hero. Suddenly, a pillar of fire appears in the room and out steps Jason Blood. Constantine, we have to talk, Blood tells John. He tells the wizard that Trigon will step foot on the Earth in a matter of moments and the world will burn. Elsewhere in the garden, the strike team returns to Earth with a cured Big Barda. Any trouble? Damian asks. Well, she did try to kill us a bit, John explains. And Cyborg is ecstatic with the results, knowing that they can bring everyone back with the cure. But John reappeared to ruin everyone's day. He tells them about the Amazo army. John wanted to rush out to fight them, but Damian convinced them that they needed a plan. So they planned, and if they cure the people as they went, the Amazos wouldn't have anyone to attack. Wallace moved fast. He read everything that he could find on production in a blur of motion. 10 minutes later, he was an expert. He moved to the Magnus labs where they began to create the cure. 3 billion people could be cured with the first batch that rolled off the line. But that number began to drop fast because Trigon appeared on Earth at 10 p.m. The blighted ones of Paris surged towards him, and he struck them. 15 minutes later, the city of Paris had been purged. The devil came to scorch the earth, and in the tower they all felt the deaths. John finally brought Dr. Fate to see what was behind the door, and he asked Zatanna to wait outside, and inside, Fate saw what John had collected. Doctor, I'm going to need your helmet and amulet, John explains as he puts on the cloak. Suddenly, the Phantom Stranger steps forward, stabbing Fate with the Spear of Destiny, explaining that Constantine showed him the future. You would prevent what needs to happen, the stranger explains, and Fate falls to his knees, telling the group that he will not relinquish the helmet. It could not be removed by your magic, Constantine, he tells John. John tells him, oh, we know. He steps forward to the Staff of Shazam, placing his hand on Fate's helmet, uttering the magic word, Shazam! The lightning strikes and the helmet was removed as John was magically charged. He holds out his hands, summoning Naboo's amulet. I don't understand. You have to have a pure heart to harness the wizard's power, Kent Nelson grasps. Yeah, I have one. Just don't ask where I got it, John tells him. Zatanna suddenly steps back into the room and she is shocked by the wounded Kent Nelson. Phantom Stranger and Trigon are standing with a magically powered John. I'm not gonna lie, this is exactly as bad as it looks, John admits to her, and he tells her not to worry, that fate will live. She steps towards him, asking if he'll return. Hey, it's me, he tells her with a smile. That's not an answer, she tells him, and John smirks, reminding her that she is the only person on the planet that he doesn't want to disappoint. They kiss gently in those last moments, and with a crack of lightning, John flies out of the Tower of Fate, rocketing towards Trigon. Ready or not, world, I'm coming to save you. And that is issues 5 and 6 of the DCeased series. Now, I know I said we're trying to do longer videos, and that is the ultimate goal right here at the Comicstorian channel. But I do want to apologize. We are playing catch up on a few series that got left hanging due to the Christmas season. This is one of those series. So next week, early next week, you're going to get issue 7 from us. We'll bring you the finale to the DCeased series, and then we're going to move over to finishing up DCeased at World's End and Injustice. Very soon, we'll have all of the series done that we left hanging so that we can move forward here as a comic book community. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to hit that subscription button, hit that like button, and look forward to next week when we bring you the conclusion to DCeased Dead Planet. Thank you so much for those of you guys who are patiently waiting for this, and I will see you then.